What's up guys? Welcome to this review of one of my favorite lenses that I love to shoot with, the Nikon AFS VR Micro-NIKKOR 105mm f2.8G IF-ED lens. Man, that's a mouthful, but an awesome lens. Now this isn't going to be a technical review if you're looking for that. I'm sure there's other reviews out there. This is just going to be a quick little summary of pros and cons that I have with this lens. But before I get into that, just want to say a few things about the lens. It's a full frame lens. It has a nano crystal coat and ED glass elements that enhance the image quality by reducing flare and chromatic aberration. It also has fast and quiet autofocusing, something I can definitely attest to, and it also comes equipped with vibration reduction so that you can shoot at slower shutter speeds handheld. So this is the lens here attached to my Nikon D750. You can see it's a hefty lens. It's got some good weight to it for sure. It also comes with a lens hood that you can snap on, and also you can reverse it for storage if you want to. Now without further ado, let me jump into the pros and cons. I'm going to start with the pros. These are reasons why I love this lens and reasons why you might want to consider getting this lens for yourself. Now, first of all, this lens is super sharp, incredibly sharp lens to shoot with, and it's going to pick up detail in your subject like crazy. I absolutely love that about this lens. And it's a prime lens, and oftentimes prime lenses, which are fixed focal lengths, they are often quite a bit sharper than zoom lenses. This isn't always the case, but in general that does tend to be the case, that prime lenses are sharper, and this lens is no exception. Another thing that I like about this lens is the focal length. It's 105 millimeters, and that is a good focal length for me for a couple of reasons. First of all, one of the things that I really enjoy shooting with this lens is venomous snakes. And obviously with venomous snakes you have to be exceedingly careful when you're photographing them. And the 105 millimeters, that focal length gives me a little bit of extra reach so that I don't have to get quite as close to the snake. So for example, if I'm shooting a big rattlesnake and I want to get a good, as close shot as possible, but also want to stay farther away so I can stay safe, the 105 millimeters gives me that extra reach over, say, a 50 millimeter lens, or even, for example, the 90 millimeter macro that Tamron makes. Another thing that it can be useful for is if you're shooting reptiles in the wild and you're trying to get an in situ image where you haven't disturbed the snake, you're trying to maybe creep up on it and get a shot of it as it is found before it was disturbed, then this lens can be useful for that as well. Another pro of this lens is the quick focus capabilities. This lens focuses very, very quickly, I find. As I mentioned before, it focuses very quietly. You're not going to have a bunch of loud noise while it's focusing, and it grabs that focus very quickly, which obviously is really, really helpful if you are shooting an animal that maybe is moving more quickly or something like that, and you need to grab focus quickly so that you can get the shot you're looking for. This lens does that excellently. And then another pro about this lens is obviously it's a macro lens, so it has a very close focusing distance. Some of the other lenses that I've used or that are out there, their minimum focusing distance is quite a bit longer and can make it difficult to get close enough to get the shot that you're looking for, especially if you're shooting a very small subject. So for me, if I'm shooting a reptile or amphibian in the wild and thinking like a small subject such as a small frog, salamander, a tiny snake or something like that, this lens allows you to get close enough so that even a small subject like that will fill the frame and make it look a lot bigger than it actually is. So that's a definite plus for this lens. A couple of drawbacks of this lens, even though it's one of my favorite lenses, I want to be honest about what it can do and what it can't do. And so one of the drawbacks of this lens is that it's a fixed focal length. It's 105 millimeters, and that's what it is. You can't zoom in or out with this lens. It's not a zoom lens. And so it's maybe not quite as versatile as some other lenses. So if versatility is really important to you and you would just want to have one lens where it's kind of one and done, and you can get wide angle shots and then you can zoom way in and get close-up shots, this is not the lens that you're going to want to look for. So that's one thing to consider if you're thinking about this lens. And then another thing that's just helpful to know, I think most lenses are probably like this to some extent, but this lens definitely, it needs help grabbing focus in low light. If you are shooting outside in a darker situation, maybe in deep shade in the forest, or it's getting close to sunset, and you're trying to focus on your subject, this lens is going to need a little help in order to grab focus. So normally when I'm out shooting out in nature and it's, again, in deep shade in the forest or maybe getting close to sunset, I usually have a little video light or a flashlight that I can shine on the subject and light it up a little bit, and that makes it a lot easier for this lens to grab focus on the subject. If you're shooting in bright daylight or even outside on an overcast day, this lens has absolutely no trouble getting focus and keeping it. Well, that's all that I'm going to say about this lens. I told you it wasn't going to be a very technical review, but hopefully if you're thinking about it or maybe weighing options with other lenses, hopefully this will at least give you an idea of the kind of lens that it is and what it can do for you. In just a second, I'll be showing some images that I have captured with this lens, and you can see what it can do out in nature. Hope you guys enjoyed, and be on the lookout for more gear review videos that I'll be putting out. Check out the link in the description for this lens as well. If it's something that you'd like, click that link and it'll take you to Amazon where you can get this lens for yourself.